firepower of the airplanes and even the choppers. It was great. Mm-hmm. See, we had tanks, true. We had APCs, armored personnel carriers. They were fine, but they were very vulnerable to the RPGs. The RPGs, grenade RPGs, rocket propelled grenade. That's what the RPG stands for. Mm-hmm. It's just like a bazooka. That's what it is. I will destroy all the APCs.
I was especially taken by the section where you talk about at the end of a battle. I'm not sure which one it was. You talked about this procession of peasants.
Oh, yeah, that was one of the worst battles that I was in. It lasted all night. I frankly thought I was going to be overrun that night, but again, thanks to the airplanes, the air support, we made it. I mean, we were no more than 350, maybe 400 troops, and we estimated the enemy to be over 1,500. But they were on foot, and they had rockets, they had RPGs, and they were, the AK-47, which are deadly. And at the end, the following day, I saw this group of peasants coming toward the perimeter that still had all the barbed wire around, all the dead people and moving wounded people. And there was like a little procession coming toward us, no more than 6 people with a white rag on top, meaning, they wanted to come in. And they brought this woman in a self-made stretcher, and I could see she was alive because her face was like ground meat in nothing but bubbles will come out, I says, where her mouth and nose used to be. Yeah. So I don't think she will ever survive, but out of mercy, the military took her in the chopper to get back to base, to the hospital. She probably died anyway.
That was hard to read. That was a difficult part of what I read. To have seen something like that must have been very difficult.
It's hard, and it was so hard for me also to stand up, to walk in the morning and see all the dead people from both sides. Some of them still moving, and the choppers start coming in, the medical helicopters, and start lifting people to take. Anyway, and just the smell. It's shocking, like you move like a zombie. You don't know what to do. I wasn't wounded at that time, thank God. But many others were not so fortunate.
Right. Talk to me a little bit about this matter of survival versus compassion. How you're geared towards surviving. I think let me see if I can find it. You talk about tracers overhead with bullets, like I had mentioned to you earlier, of supersonic bees. The adrenaline, the excitement, the fear, and the feeling that seem to fuel your need for survival.
Yeah, at night is the worst, and most fights are at night or at dawn. And there's nothing worse than getting to a fight at nighttime where all you can see is the flash of the enemy weapons. You're advancing and you don't know toward what, but you have to advance. So all these sounds, the bullets, the rockets, they don't sound like they do in the movies. They're real. They're so close to you that I think you're gonna rip your head right off. And anyway, survival is trying to kill everything that you see it moves. I know the next morning we see these corpses and you see, some of their kids, some of the enemy, maybe they were 15, 14, younger than us, and most of them were Catholics, and you can, as a soldier, a Catholic I can identify with that. They had the family pictures, stamps of the Virgin Mary and God, and rosaries.
But in their pockets, you mean?
Pocket, yeah.
Okay.
We'll search them to who they were. we weren't taking them. The money wasn't any good. But it was kind of a thing that, there's no compassion. You can't have compassion at the time. It's either you or them. And the sad thing is that some of them, or most of them, they were buried in common graves. We had, like in the battle that big, we had these bulldozers, and they would pile them up, and dig a big grave, and they would mulch them up and put them on the grave, and then cover them with dirt. I wonder if they were found. I don't think so. We were in the middle of nowhere, and
the Americans would bury them.
the American would bury. Yeah, we will bury them, and when there's so many, when there are hundreds of them in this case, the bulldozer will dig up a big long grave, and they put all the corpses inside, and then it's.
Did you keep the cards, their cards and information and pictures, and
What card?
the ones that you would find in their pockets, the rosaries, the family pictures.
We buried it with them.
You buried it with them.
I never took anything. I didn't believe in that. That has to be buried with them. Hopefully somebody, will find it, but I don't think so. They were. See, the news in the paper were right, and it was no exaggeration when they said that we lost 15 and they lost 300. That happened all the time. If we lost 60,000 people in Vietnam, they must have lost probably 3 million. I wouldn't be surprised. But they were like ants. By the way, as I say ants, they live on the ground. They will come out from nowhere. We used to go S&D, it was called Search and Destroy. I put it this way. We were searching for them to find us. And that was the story. They knew all the time where we were. We never did.
You never knew where they were.
They had an idea, but they live on the ground. They had tunnels all over. Part of my job, part of my description, my job description was to blow those tunnels. Sometimes I would get in, but not too far in, because behind they were narrow, and I didn't know what was at the end of it. They had a lot of booby traps all over the place. But I blew up a lot of tunnels. I don't recall blowing a bridge ever, but I remember blowing tunnels a lot, and blowing their ammo, weapons. And of course, the mines, which was my main mission or job description, blow those mines. They were bad. Those mines, well, you can see a little bit like this plane. And they would blow in the tank, or part of the tank, and will make a crater goes about 6 feet deep into the ground. They were very powerful.
Oh, I see. The mines placed by them.
Yeah.
And so when you saw a mine, did you have to detonate it then, or?
Well, let me tell you, finding the mine was you go with the earphones and the minesweeper. When you detect the metal, go beep, beep, then you know there is something there. You know what it is. Could be a Coke can, or could be anything else, but you get to know what kind of noise the mine makes, because it's pretty high. So once you had that high pitch in your earphone, then you kneel down very careful with the bayonet in an angle, start probing for it until you hit metal. Try not to hit and pray not to hit the detonator. Once you discover this is a mine, then you just take your piece of C4, like a block, put it on.
What's C4?
C4 is a high velocity explosive. It was used a lot in Vietnam, and I used to carry that on my back, 20 pounds of it. I remember for that job, they used to be paid $20 or $30 extra a month. Anyway, that explosive is like Play-Doh. It's moldable, and it's white,
right?
And it's very effective. So that's what we use. I would put a whole stick of C4, which is like a brick, put a blasting cap on it with 2 fuses always. One will be a smoke fuse that you burn it with your cigarette and match, and then I use another blasting cap far away with electrical clicker. So if the fuse, if the light fuse wouldn't explode or goes out, I wouldn't go back to the C4 to see if it's still lit. I would use the second detonator and I would blow it. Because it's a funny thing, it's tricky. You have a light fuse and it goes off halfway. It might be dormant. And when you get close to it, it might light up again and blow yourself.
Yeah.
So I use double fuses all the time.
Yeah, of course. Did you have to wear special gear?
No.
Really?
No.
Nothing to protect
You're
your
just
face?
like everybody
or-
else. Would hardly wear shirts anytime at all. It was so hot. We use pants and boots, literally. Of course, all the weapons, the helmet,
Yeah.
the clothing, pants and boots.